And you're live.
Thank you, everyone. And it is 11:04 a.m. on this lovely Tuesday in May. And this is the Board of Regents HR and Administration Committee meeting. And I would like to call the meeting to order. And Pam, could you do a roll call and a declaration of quorum?
Thank you. Regent Howery.
Here.
Regent Balducci. Absence is noted. Regent Wright.
Here.
Regent Ryan.
Here.
Regent Howery, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. And so I'm looking for a motion to approve the previous minutes from the last meeting on October 6th.
So moved.
Second. Thank
Second.
you. Is there any discussion? Great. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstaining. The minutes pass unanimously. So the first item on the agenda today is a discussion. It's actually a presentation. Ben's going to start us off with an update of the reorganization of HR shared services. So Ben, if you'd like to lead us off in that.
Yes, thank you very much, Regent Howery. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm going to provide a few comments about the some of the impacts of our ongoing labor relations discussions around the merger, because those have a big impact on HR, what's going on in HR, certainly over the next 6 months or so. And then my colleague Diane Mazza is going to provide some more detail about some of the organizational changes within the HR area and progress that we've been making there. So there are a couple of, as we enacted the tentative agreements, which were subsequently ratified by the General Assembly for all the different bargaining units. And the bargaining units for the community colleges, which drive the vast majority of the work of this HR shared services, included some unique provisions that are going to affect how we administer HR over the next 6 months or a year. And those are that we've provided a job security provisions, which are limited job security provisions for the 4Cs, AFT, and to some degree, AFSCME. We didn't give them all the same provisions, but very similar. And those provisions require that we provide actual job security. We cannot separate somebody because of the reorganization who has tenure. So in the 4Cs, I'm leaving faculty aside because there's not a whole, the reorganization of faculty is not, that's more about curriculum. But within the administrative cadre of 4Cs members, about 25% of them have tenure, and they're obviously the most senior, tend to have the greatest longevity in their positions anyways. Frankly, the likelihood that even if there had been an intention to lay off lots of administrators, it would have been extremely unlikely that any of them would have been tenured administrators under our existing collective bargaining agreement. So they were given an assurance of job security. And for people who don't have tenure, but who are permanent, full-time permanent employees in the what we call CCPs, which is the community college professional category in the 4Cs, they have we have an obligation to make every effort to provide them with continued employment, that's available under the reorganization. And under that term, we have the ability to directly place individuals. So as an example, a 4Cs member who works in the financial aid office at one of the campuses, could be moved into a position within the one college financial aid structure that was defined. So that process is permitted in the new agreement. There's also, just for your information, the state DAS has agreed that they have committed to taking on as many as 25 individuals who end up being separated from our administrative service bargaining unit positions into state government positions. So there's sort of yet another fallback. Now, those, obviously, we could separate somebody, we could lay somebody off if the position doesn't exist, but we believe that this gives us enough flexibility, coupled with the number of retirements and vacancies that exist now, and retirements that are happening now and will continue to happen, that this gives us a good shot at carrying out this reorganization in a way that has very minimal, it may have some disruption because people have a new job or a new location, but will allow us to preserve employment for certainly the vast majority of our employees who wish to continue in employment. Obviously, some may decide they don't want to move to a different position and elect to move on, and that's fine. The way that we are putting this into practice is that we are now have every other week we have a afternoon scheduled with the 4 Cs and AFT, and I think we will include AFSCME from time to time. They're not a very big bargaining unit, and we are currently trying to negotiate an MOU with those bargaining units that describes the process by which we will undertake this impact bargaining. While we're kind of setting up an agreement on how to do it at the same time, we're already beginning to do the work on some of the areas. But I think that we should finalize some of the major points of that agreement. So some of the items that we are negotiating with them on this MOU are some rules regarding red circling, so that we've proposed that if somebody is offered a position at a higher grade than the one that they have, what the salary impact of that move would be. If somebody is offered a position at the same grade, how that would be handled, and obviously if somebody is offered a position at a lower level, how that will be handled. We obviously have an interest in people working to their highest and most productive role, and so we're trying to do that. That may not always be possible, and there certainly is undoubtedly we haven't finalized the agreement on this. It's likely that the union's position is that we should red circle everybody who would move into a lower position. It's our view, it's different, but we'll come up with some middle ground that will give us a set of pretty clear rules for how we would, what the salary offer would be if an individual moves into another offered position. And then we are going in thematic areas. We've already had some preliminary discussions about financial aid, and we're now have recently provided them with our proposed reorganization of marketing, of registrar, and of admissions and recruitment, student recruitment. So those areas are all on the table for discussion. Typically, the way this works is we give them a list and say, here are the people who are currently in your bargaining unit who are impacted by this. Here's what we propose. Here's the position that we propose each of them go into. They take that and have conversations with individual members, and then we will, continue to sort of work our way through all the individual issues in each case. I'm hoping this is still an early process, and it's been a little interrupted by the latest wave of COVID infections, forced us to cancel because some of the leadership of the union was sick with COVID last time. But we're meeting next week, and we'll continue to have that process go forward. That does have an impact on the HR function in two ways. One, they need to staff that process and carry out all the activities that are produced by that. So, when we've elected to move an individual into a new position, they have to be given the formal notification of that. If there are onboarding activities around their move, we have to follow up and execute all those activities. On the other hand, it means that a lot of positions that we normally would be searching for, we're not going to search for, because we are trying to hold open positions where we can, where we think that they will be, where there will be 4Cs or AFT members who would be good fit for those positions. We want to make those available to them. So we're now working out how to. Right now we've pulled a few positions where there were open searches. We've sort of put a hold on those searches because we have internal candidates we want to place in those jobs. or who we may want to place in those jobs. But going forward, we're going to make a determination when a vacancy is identified, whether we should hold it and use it and try to, for some period of time, to place an active employee into that job first, or if we should go out and search for it based on our knowledge of the overall group of people who might be eligible for that. So this is we're making this up as we go to some degree. I don't think anybody has ever undertaken as large a reorganization within these bargaining units, some of which have some pretty constraining rules about how to do this. So I'm very happy to report that the bargaining units, while we don't always agree on things, agree that a consultative and fully engaged approach with the union is the best way to get to a good solution. So I feel comfortable that we will, keep making progress. I'm sure there will be some issues that end up falling out of the bottom and being resolved through the state labor board or what have you. I'm sorry, my lights just went off. I got to move around more. So we have, but we believe that process will ultimately significantly reduce the number of recruitments that we're doing through new searches, at least for the next 6 months or so, while we hold positions open and try to move around our existing staff into those. So I think that this does give us a little bit of breathing room on recruitment. To be honest, recruitment right now is challenging. The labor market conditions are extraordinarily challenging for us. I'm going through the list of open recruitments. We've had failed searches because of a lack of qualified candidates in a number of occasions, we've had other situations in which preferred candidates are not, take other positions. Our process is a little bit long. It sometimes takes a little bit of time, given our expectations about how we conduct these searches. Certainly compared to private sector organizations who just hire people, we're really pushing very hard to make sure that we have open competitive searches. When we do have open competitive searches, that they are truly open and competitive and give people plenty of time to contribute and go through that process. So that's the sort of the impact of the labor relations and the merger activity on HR, but I'm going to turn it over to Diane to talk a little bit more about how within HR she is making some changes to address some of the perceived concerns about quality and timeliness there. Diane.
And before you go, Diane, just want to give the opportunity. Does anyone have a question for Ben about the information you just shared? How many employees are we looking to adjust?
About 500, more or less, depending on which.
So no small task.
That includes that's an estimate that includes it's about 400 4Cs members, and then some AFT and AFSCME and managers, and a small number of SWOF employees are impacted as well.
Great. Did anyone else have any questions for Ben before we move on? Great. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Diane. Didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay, no problem. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see everyone. So thanks for allowing us to give a brief update on what's been happening with HR shared services. So I believe over the last 6 months, we have made some significant improvements to our processes, but of course, we'll continue to do so moving forward. So first, I just wanted to talk about some enhancements to our process for onboarding new employees. We have just recently created and implemented a new employee orientation onboarding for all new employees. So our staff is collaborating with offices across campuses to introduce new employees to all the aspects of the CSCU system. The orientation onboarding affords new employees the opportunity to learn all about the benefits, the resources, all the services that we provide. It's a one-day in-person training that talks about the mission and vision of the system. You know, it introduces leadership. It provides access to policies, benefits, contact information. It also provides the opportunity to complete diversity training on the first day of employment. So our goal is, you know, to support all employees with a smooth and engaging transition to working into the system. So we just rolled that out. Our first session was about 4 weeks ago. So far we've had some, you know, the feedback has been positive. So in addition to that, you know, our new employees are also able to use ScanOptics. ScanOptics is a secure online onboarding document tool that enables the new employees to complete their HR and payroll forms and all the documents that they need. Once those documents are completed, the employee can then upload the forms to the our CSEU protective enclave. So we've rolled this product out over the last year, but we continue to use the enhanced features to facilitate, you know, an efficient transition for new employees. So those are some enhancements to hiring and bringing on the new employees. As Ben mentioned, you know, with the impact bargaining, we will probably be conducting fewer searches as individuals will be placed, you know, in comparable positions or similar positions within the reorganization. That will allow us to focus more strategically on how we're going to improve processes in the recruitment area. So we're reviewing all our staffing levels to determine what the appropriate workloads are, to improve upon our recruitment efforts and also other areas of HR. So as I said, we're currently doing a comprehensive review of our recruitment process to determine how to, when we do have to do searches, how to expedite these searches, because we have had some concerns about that. So one area we're focusing on is we currently use Jazz HR, which is our applicant tracking system. And the recruitment team is trying to more fully utilize that system to allow hiring managers to report on the candidates directly into the system. So all the candidate information can be stored in the system, tracked and reported, which will eliminate some steps in the process. So any way we can try to expedite the recruitment process, we're looking at all the different steps that are involved, so we can try to enhance this process. So this particular enhancement is being rolled out and training will be provided. So there's a training and resource document that has been added as a resource for both our hiring managers and the search committees. So, and we will be providing training on this product to the hiring manager and the search committees. And as Ben said, some of these searches have been challenging. We've had a difficult time recruiting in certain areas. So we not only have the challenge of the process, we also have the challenge of, you know, failed searches. So we're looking into ways where we can post these positions, different recruitment areas of where we can post these positions to solicit more qualified candidates. So that has been quite a challenge. In our HR Strategy Center of Excellence, the original structure, I don't know if you remember, was to have, you know, these are the HR staff that are actually on the campus who answer inquiries to questions for all employees. And the original structure was to have 7 generalists to be present on the campuses, and they would have responsibility for more than one campus. So we have 12 community colleges and charter oak in the system office, and we initially only had 7 generalists. So we've been approved to hire 2 additional HR generalists, you know, to enable more presence on the campus, right? Because that was some other concerns that were expressed by the CEOs and the presidents that, you know, there wasn't enough presence on the campus. So when there is, you know, if a generalist is out on leave or is on vacation, we will have other generalists to back them up and will provide, additional HR coverage for continuity of HR shared services and assistance. So in addition, I just wanted to mention that one of our CEOs, the Compensation Benefits and HR Administration CEO, they have, in collaboration with payroll, have processed to date 126 retirements, and we have an additional approximately 163 pending retirements for June and July. So that's been a huge undertaking, right, for Mike and his team. And they've been working in close collaboration with payroll to get those retirements processed. So with those retirements, obviously come more vacancies. And so, if we have more vacancies, we're determining where those vacancies fit into the new structure. And if we could move individuals into those positions through impact bargaining, we'll do that. If we don't have the individuals to move into those positions, then obviously we'll need to conduct searches for those positions. So those are some of the updates. I think the entire, HR team has worked extremely hard to make these improvements and enhance the work efficiencies, based on feedback that we receive from the CEOs, the presidents, campus leadership. We often, sit in on cabinet meetings to discuss any concerns that the campus leadership has. And we take those back and look at our processes to see how we can enhance any of the processes that we have based on the feedback that we've been getting. So we'll continue to make enhancements to the process. I think we've been successful in the last 6 months. We have done a lot, and we will continue to make enhancements and improve processes.
Great. Thank you so much, Diane, for the update. Does anyone have any questions about the ongoing HR evolution?
I do, Holly, if I may. It's a question for Diane. I'm just curious. Diane, you mentioned that there were specific jobs that were most difficult to fill. What types of jobs are they where you're having the greatest challenge in terms of finding candidates to fill the position?
So, this just specifically in the HR field, we have some vacancies for labor relations investigators. That's just one that comes to mind. We have 2 vacant positions that have been open for several months, and we're just not finding qualified candidates. We also have even the HR generalists. We're having a difficult time recruiting qualified candidates.
So you were talking specifically to the HR organization.
No, there's other areas too, but specifically I'm on those searches, so I'm aware, but there are other areas that we've had difficulty recruiting. So I don't have those offhand, but I can get you a list.
No, it's, I was just curious, but it's just within the HR organization, you're saying the generalist, labor relations, those are the types of positions you're not finding the candidates.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We've also had trouble with facilities. We have a couple of vacancies for project managers, and the construction trades are, busy and hiring. We've struggled to fill those jobs.
Yeah, well, construction is big right now, but in HR, have you done any research in terms of sort of the driver of why you're not seeing those candidates? Is it, there's a variety of reasons. It could be from, the way you're recruiting, where you're coming from, the pay. Is there a game plan to figure out to step back to say, all right, we've got these vacancies, they're critical positions. We've not seen the candidates we need. So what are the next steps?
Yeah, we have looked at that. I think there's also a lot of positions within the state of Connecticut as well. So I think we're competing with those positions as well. Obviously the benefits would be the same. We could offer, we do have a good benefit package. I think if we do recruit from other state agencies, right? In the HR field, because they have the experience in the system, the systems that we use, so they're knowledgeable about that. But when we recruit from outside of the state and they come from private institutions, I think our salary is competitive in those areas. So I think there is a lot of different factors that go into, trying to recruit the best candidates. It seems like there's a lot more positions out there than there are qualified candidates. So I think that's some of the issue as well.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I know we were expecting a number of retirements this spring and early summer. It looks like almost 300 is what you have pending or already processed. Is that what we were expecting?
I think so it's about 300. I think we initially thought it would be a higher number, but it still is a significant number based on last year's numbers of retirements that we processed. But it's still pretty significant.
Yeah, Regent Howard, if I could just dovetail on Diane's comments, perhaps. And that's spot on. We actually had anticipated anywhere between 700 and 1,000 retirements in the community college system. And that also included those who were eligible for early retirement. So this number is somewhat lower than that initial projection. That's sort of a good thing, bad thing. We were certainly staffing up for that possible number. The good point of that is, in backfilling all of these positions, it's extremely challenging and problematic at times to backfill that large of a gap in staffing. So we were, somewhat concerned along with the rest of the state, and how many of these vacancies can we fill? How many do we need to fill? And how quickly can we fill them? So that's sort of the good news story about not having as many retirements as indicated. But the numbers we have been keeping us quite busy for sure.
Sounds like it. Yeah, that's plenty, I'm sure. Okay, thank you for the background information. I appreciate it. Were there any more questions about the HR shared services or anything Ben had?
No, the only other thing I would add, one of the consequences of the retirements that the state has is that some of our counterparties, some of the state agencies on which we rely, are also experiencing very profound numbers of retirements. For instance, the core CT team that manages the state's payroll and HRIS system that we rely on has been very hard hit, and some key people who are with whom we transact very important business around our fringe benefits and the management of the core CT system have retired. And so I think that we will also see some limitations on the services we get from state government, especially over this summer as they adapt to new staffing levels.
Okay, good point. Thank you for that. So the second item, I believe Mike Lopez is going to give us a preview of the changes to the HR policy manual for management and confidential personnel.
I am Regent Howard. Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen with everyone if I could. Okay, I just want to be sure that everyone can in fact see those slides.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to address the committee. It's wonderful to see everyone again, and great to have a chance to speak with you. And certainly my thanks to Diane for the shout out for my team in compensation, benefits, and HR administration. I certainly could not have, we collectively in HR shared services could not have done it without that great team that I have. particularly in the area of retirements and all of the many employment contracts, the hiring and rehiring actions. So I am extremely blessed to have a very, very talented team. And also my thanks to my colleagues who assisted in reviewing these changes that we're going to chat about. And just a sort of an administrative note to kick off the discussion, that we are in fact preparing that draft, Regent Howery, for you and the committee members with all of the details on the proposed changes that we're going to discuss at a bit of a higher level this morning over the next 10 days or so in advance of our meeting on the 2nd of June, so that we can perhaps bring this back to the agenda and have a deeper discussion and answer any more specific questions regarding those changes in that draft document. All right, so just the overview of what we're going to discuss this morning, and that pertains to some state and federal law changes and enhancements, specifically to the Family Medical Leave Act that we'll talk about in a bit more detail here in a moment. Organizational changes in the leadership structure, both at CT State and here at the system office. Technical updates in a variety of areas throughout the policy document for management and confidential employees. This also includes some minor typographical changes and enhancements to improve the flow of the document, particularly in the areas of some of our definitions of management confidential employees and the appointments that they hold. And then alignment to our updated practices, particularly as it relates to interim appointments, paid and unpaid leaves, and notices of non-reappointment for non-represented managers, which again, I'll go into a bit more detail in just a moment. So the first area, excuse me, pertains to Article 5 in our policy document, and that is the area that addresses all of our permanent and non-permanent appointment categories. And what we wanted to specifically enhance in this revision is to revise the language that exists now to highlight that the board will appoint the CSCU president's position, President Chang's position, as it comes up for appointment. Then the CSCU president will appoint the 6 institution presidents, and I'll talk about the definition of institution presidents here in just a moment, but those 6 institution presidents that President Chang will have that authority to appoint pertain to the 4 CSU presidents, the CT State president, and the Charter Oak State College president. And then the CSU president, President Chang, will also have the authority with this change to appoint management confidential employees that are assigned here at the system office. And then our institution presidents, essentially those presidents for our state universities and CT State as well as Charter Oak, will have that appointment authority for their respective non-represented management confidential employees at their respective institution. We have gone forth and updated the emeritized status in regards specifically to some of the benefits that are being offered for those who are selected for the emeritized status, regarding email distribution lists and items of the sort, just to better define what those benefits are and their interaction with the activities of that particular campus. And then the last somewhat material change in this Chapter 5 for appointments is the addition of a senior advisor fellow description. And what we've done here is in lieu of retirement, resignation, or a non-continuation outcome for that particular management confidential employee at the classification of Executive 3 or higher, we're looking to institute a senior advisor fellow that will be conferred by the CSCU or institution leader, institution president. And what this will allow this individual do for a specified period of time is to work on and orient themselves to some strategic projects that will be significantly beneficial to the system as they are essentially moving into their exit plan and their exit strategy. So this we feel is a great way to provide sort of that softer landing and then reap the benefits of, you know, someone who has likely decades of experience in the system that we can really draw on and utilize in helping us with that strategic vision. So we're hoping that this senior fellow advisor position and program will really speak to that. The next item, a few items pertain to our Article 7, and this is sort of a potpourri of areas that we talk about, as you can see by the title: vacations, holidays, comp time off, and then a variety of leaves of absences, both unpaid and paid, are included in this particular article for us. The changes that we are looking to specifically make on this iteration, and you folks may recall this, is initially the elimination of that 12-day minimum vacation requirement for management confidential employees. We feel it's an opportunity to perhaps put that responsibility back with the employee to manage their vacation consumption. We will certainly, through this policy and other documents, encourage our managers and confidential employees to take vacation time to restore and relax and be re-energized. But we felt that this 12-day minimum was a bit of a challenge, both in reporting those who met that requirement and did not, and just sort of in managing at a the more personal level how folks are utilizing their vacation. So we're going to propose the elimination of that minimum level of 12 days. This particular section also adds and enhances language regarding FMLA rules, and that specifically pertains at the state level to, as many of you have heard, the Paid Family Medical Leave Act, which was launched in 2021 and actually came into effect where folks could apply for that benefit this past January of 2022. And this benefit is limited to non-represented employees at this point. Bargaining unit employees, if they so bargain for this benefit, would be considered eligible. But at this point, this particular benefit at the state level is limited to non-represented managers and confidential employees and other non-represented employees like our university assistants, our educational assistants, et cetera, who are not represented by a bargaining unit. And again, this is a great opportunity, a great enhanced benefit to provide that paid leave for those non-represented eligible employees if they have their own sickness, care for a sick family member, any bonding opportunities with children that they may have, military leave, and a new addition of any instances of family violence. They would be able to draw from this paid benefit for those instances. And those deductions from pay for those eligible employees did commence last year as well, and that continues to obviously provide funding for that benefit once those employees apply and are deemed eligible. There is some additional enhancements at the federal level. Again, some definition clarifications in regards to pregnancy disability leave, and just an affirmation of definitions for eligible family members for both federal and state leave. We just wanted an opportunity to sort of clean that area up of the policies after the last 3 years of some changes, both at state and federal levels. The other area that you will see enhanced in this particular Article 7 is language pertaining to comp time. The FLSA Federal Leave Standards Act has changed the salary eligibility for those who are exempt and non-exempt from overtime pay. So they have changed that and revised that to salaries less than $684 per week, or about $35,500 per year, would in fact be eligible for overtime pay. So what that allowed us to do is we have management confidential employees at the professional 1 and professional 2 level that are now non-exempt, which means they are in fact eligible for overtime pay, which will be a nice benefit for them. There are a few professional 2 CSU positions that are still being analyzed in regards to their job content and application with this new overtime eligibility. But for the most part, a large number of our professional 2 and professional 1 positions, which are our lower classified positions, will now be eligible for this overtime benefit. And then those remaining professional classified and management classified positions will continue to be eligible for comp time with supervisor approval. So again, just a nice benefit for those who are not eligible for overtime, that are working some excessive hours for a period of time. They will be eligible for some overtime that they can use prior to the end of the calendar year. So you'll see some specific changes pertaining to that as well. And then lastly is additions for administrative leave provisions. We've enhanced and clarified the language regarding paid and unpaid leave provisions in this particular article as well. And then lastly, pardon me, lastly is the Article 8, and that pertains to non-continuation, discipline, reprimand, suspension, and termination. And this was another area that we felt was at a point that needed some revision after several years of changes and enhancements and just additional discussion amongst senior executives here at the system office and our campus leaders. So specifically, the areas that we are looking to clarify and enhance pertain to this issue of non-continuation. And what you'll see in the changes that we'll present to you pertain to the BOR's authority for non-continuation just at the CSU presidential level. And then the CSU president's authority will extend to those institutional leaders that I outlined previously, as well as those management and confidential employees who are assigned here at the system office in Hartford. And then lastly will be those institution leaders for campus management confidential employees that are assigned to them. And again, those are the CSU president, CT State president, and Charter Oak State College. And then the last 2 areas that you will see with a variety of changes pertain to clarifications for discipline and appeals to that discipline for management confidential employees, and suspensions with and without pay pending any investigations and other matters that need to be looked at a bit more thoroughly. So those will be sort of the heart of the changes that we'll present to you in greater detail, as I mentioned at the top of this discussion, over the next couple of weeks. And we'll go into them in much greater detail at our next meeting, and look forward to any questions to those specific enhancements that you folks may have. But I certainly, even at this high level, certainly welcome any questions you might have this morning, any clarifications that I can provide. I'd be welcome to provide that.
So it looks like a lot of work has gone into at least the start of this process. That's great. We look forward to seeing the completed document prior to our next meeting. And I'm sure we will have a lot of questions at that point. Does anyone have anything they want clarification on right now? All right.
No. Wonderful.
Thank you
Thank
very
you, Regent Howery. Really appreciate the opportunity to address the committee.
You bet. And we're looking forward to seeing all the final language. That is great. And we had one other item, but it is not ready for this week. And the good news is we meet again in 3 weeks. How exciting is that? So we will take this information with us because we will be voting on a bunch of things that we discussed today at the next meeting. Is there any other business before the committee today? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And we've got a second from Joanne. Thank you all for being here today, and we will see you all again in early June. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.